pick what you feed into your mind, pick the people that you hang out with. So who are you around? Who are you hanging out with? And what are you feeding into your mind? If you keep subscribing and listening to the Show Your Value podcast, you're going to get a lot of great wisdom and ideas to pour into your brain. And if you subscribe to other channels that make you come alive, you read books where you're learning and you get inspired, that's a great start versus going and doom scrolling through whatever latest disaster is going to kill us all. Most people wake up and they just start to doom scroll through their emails, through news, through Instagram, and they start to feel really negative. If you load my Instagram, my YouTube, it's all entrepreneurship, inspiration, but that's a choice to turn off everything else and turn on the things that make me want to believe in myself more.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I watch these videos every day because I need them for motivation. Being around successful entrepreneurs every morning helps me believe that I can do great things too. It's like your morning coffee, but for your goals, kickstarting your day with a blast of positivity. So here is a challenge for you. Try watching one video every morning for the next 30 days. And let's find out together if they help you do great things too. If you're in, leave a hashtag believe in the comments below so I can celebrate with you. So today we're going to learn from me and my team's take on my top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is start with why. The belief and the motivation to get going. At the beginning, I think we need to focus on why, and then you move to the how, and then as you graduate, you move to the who. So it's like why to how to who. Where if you look at where you're at now, you're focused on the who. You know, you're like, who can help me get to where I need to go? Who do I hire to help me with my YouTube strategy? Because you're already a successful entrepreneur and you know that you can't do this all by yourself. But at the beginning, it's much more about the why. Like, why is this so important to you that you have to get up and do this? And the environment, I think, is the thing that holds most people back. Most people's environment has been perfectly created to keep them where they are. And so the environment is the people in your family, your friend circle, what you're listening to every day, what who you follow on social media. And why I made my channel was I wanted every day to be around people who pushed me to believe more in me. So I want Steve Jobs in my ear every day. I want Elon Musk in my ear every day. I want people like Walt Disney who've done amazing things in my ear every day. And so that's why I started my channel for me, selfishly. If you guys are watching this and you love Sean and you respect everything he's built, great. He's got lots of content. Like, subscribe to the channel and watch a video every day. Because if you started your day with a Sean video, you're going to start to think like Sean. You're going to start to think differently. You're going to start to have a little more belief, and to be able to see someone like Sean do it makes you think, maybe I can do it as well. And so the number one thing I think I would change for most people is just the habits and the environment. What are you doing every day? Because entrepreneurs will often get really excited for a moment, and then you wake up the next day and all the energy is gone, and you don't believe in yourself anymore. You can't do it. And so it's like brushing your teeth. You got to do it every day. You got to be in an environment with people and books and podcasts and YouTube videos that make you feel like your big dream is possible. And if you did that every day, you'll start to see the shift. Rule number 3 is stop living in fear. Momentum is a thing that most people are missing. And we're living in fear because we don't want to fail. And so we think we have to have the perfect plan, where the ultimate failure is doing nothing. And so you need to go and take imperfect action, whatever that looks like, whatever the first thing is. And if you can commit to somebody else, even better. If you can commit to somebody else, like, tomorrow, let's go to the gym together. Or you message somebody, say, will you be on my podcast? Right? And then they say yes. Even the next day when you wake up, it's like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the gym. I can't interview this person for are you kidding me? I can't. But you said yes.
Yeah.
So now you have to follow through.
You do.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that is the most important thing, because the first step is the hardest step. And once you start building momentum, then planning can take shape. But it's not the first step. And so we've all had these moments of boldness. And so it's acting when you have those moments of boldness, because they will be fleeting. Rule number 4 is build a morning routine. A mindset is a daily thing. You know, I'm talking to you. I feel great. The rest of the day is going to be amazing. I talked to Lee Benson. I was on his show. It was awesome. I'm going to tell Nina. It's going to be great. And then wake up tomorrow. Like, what day is it? What am I doing again? What happened? It's like, at least for me, it's a reset every day. So no matter how great today is, tomorrow I'm starting over. And so that's why successful people have their routines, whatever it is that you need, whether it's
the health routine with working out and cold plunging and sauna and all the fun gadgets you've got at your place. The mindset stuff of reading a book or journaling or going for a walk or listening to content, like whatever the thing is that gets you feeling the belief in yourself to go do something amazing today, putting that into your morning routine so that you feel the bold. If you don't feel it, you're not going to do anything. So getting the feeling first thing in the morning, not like 11 o'clock at night, you happen to watch some video, you get all inspired, and then you go to bed and you kind of start over the next day.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight our favorite lessons from the video that will inspire you to remember what you learned today and actually apply them. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is get more momentum.
Most people have a big dream. They have something they want to try. They're curious about something. And they have the heart and they have the soul and they're a good person and they're doing it for the right reason. And yet they still don't go and take action. Why? Because a lot of their fears get in the way, whether it's enemies, whether it's people like Harry who are telling you that you can't do it. I call them the little man, all the reasons why you're not going to win. Or maybe it's just that voice inside your own head telling you that you're not good enough and you can't. But I think the biggest thing most people are missing is just momentum. It's just momentum. Like when we started this, we weren't great either. You go back 20 years ago, Cyrus on the radio wasn't as polished, didn't have as good a voice. I mean, you probably still had the good voice, but maybe the questions weren't as good. There was nerves trying to hit the airwaves, a lot of fears and insecurities, but you did it. You did it, and you kept going. Like 20 years later, here you are. And same thing with the videos that I made. My first video sucked. It was 350 videos, public videos that I made before I could watch my videos back because looking at them made me feel too embarrassed. Like I couldn't watch my own stuff back. But we started and we kept going. And I think the biggest thing for people that they're missing is just momentum. Like you just need to start. There's no perfect start. You just need to start. You need to get one foot out the door and say, I'm going to go off and do this. I'm going to learn. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fall down. I'm going to get back up and I'm going to keep going. But you just need to start.
Rule number 6 is change your environment.
How many times you go through your phone and you spend an hour on Instagram and you feel worse about yourself than when you started?
Yeah.
So you lost an hour and now you feel worse about yourself too. Perfect.
Yeah, or you're triggered.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're setting yourself up for a negative day and you've just lost an hour in the morning. As opposed, so all those people who make you feel worse about yourself, unfollow them. You get the pick. And the ones who make you feel better about yourself and powerful and more self-belief, follow those people. Because then you'll be inspired when you load your phone and then want to go off and do things. And so your environment's been perfectly designed to keep you where you are. And if you want to grow, you change your environment. Now, this is something that our parents didn't have access to.
Right.
Right? I'm 43. My parents at 43 didn't have the internet. It wasn't possible. They were a product of their environment, which is their parents and their community and maybe what's on the TV, but it's very limited and very forced on you, right? It's like whatever you grew up with, that's kind of what your environment is. And to move to a new city or to become an entrepreneur or whatever, you had to be a crazy person.
Yeah, right.
But now, whatever you're into, there's people creating content. Your tribe is online. Like chances are you don't want to do what your parents did.
Oh,
and even
they still
me,
don't.
well, if we're talking to like the next generation, but
right.
but even us, like even me at 43, I don't want to from 43 to 83, I don't want to live the life my parents did from 43 to 83.
Right.
And it's not because they had a bad life, it's just they didn't have options.
Right.
We have options. You can do whatever you want. And so how do you start to instill the belief that that's possible? Well, you choose to surround yourself with people who are going off and doing it.
Rule number 7 is take consistent action.
I think you have to combine the inspiration with the action. And so you could pick up Lee's book and learn from it and get inspired. Like, oh my gosh, I want to build a $300 million company too, right? Or I want to learn how to, right? Or me this morning going on my walk and listen to Zig Ziglar, right? Like I get inspired. I get a lot of ideas. Great. But Zig's not going to do the work for me, right? He's not coming back to then help me grow and do my next step, hire my next teammate, grow my channel, make more content. So the whole point of that inspiration is then to
make you more courageous to then go and take action, and hopefully the right action. And so where most people get stuck is they don't do anything. They just feel it's hopeless. So step one is, okay, we need to inject hope and possibility and belief into you, which could be a video, a book, a podcast, a word from a friend. Cool. And then we got to start taking action and consistent action. Nothing happens without dedicated, consistent action. Not every step is going to be perfect. You're going to make tons of mistakes along the way, but most important is that you did something about it. You took the consistent action. So that combination of having the right mindset plus the action. Rule number 8 is get inspiration.
Why I didn't resonate with a lot of the common advice, because a lot of my contemporaries, one of the biggest things that they will say is, don't compare yourself to others. It's toxic. Never compare yourself to others. And I'm like, really? I don't know. I like comparing myself to others, but I realize that most people just don't do it in a healthy way. I mean, even my YouTube channel, the very first videos were, the channel is called Modeling the Masters. It's like, hey, how can you learn from Steve Jobs and Oprah Winfrey and Warren Buffett and all these people to help you become better? And so I think the danger is most people, when they compare themselves to others, they push themselves down. So, oh, well, I can't do this because Cyrus is already doing it, and he's got a better voice than me. He started 20 years ago, and he asked great questions. Like, I'm just getting started, and I suck. I can never be like Cyrus. And so we use that to beat ourselves down, push ourselves down. Where I think if you look to somebody, if somebody wants to get started in broadcasting and they look at Cyrus, they can say, man, look what Cyrus did. If he can do it, I can too. And you use that as a push forward. But I think the key thing is you need a push. Like, if you don't have any frame of reference, if you don't know that it's possible, most people stay stuck. And so the key is not to stay stuck. Don't push yourself down, but use inspiration from your heroes to push yourself forward into gear to say, hey, if they can do it, I can too. And I could probably get there faster because it's only easier to get going now.
Rule number 9 is live with no regrets.
As a recovering perfectionist, attesting to the campaign, what does being imperfectly perfect mean to you now, Evan?
It's looking at yourself with kindness and recognizing that the mistakes you made in the past, you did the best you could with what you had. You know, like, I think a lot of us spend so much time looking backwards and say, oh, I wish I did this. I wish I started this then. I wish I talked to her and told her this. And we just are constantly living with regret of what we wish we should have done, or feel, or judged ourselves or should have done. And so it's looking back with kinder eyes to say, you did the best you could with what you had.
Yeah.
If you knew what you knew now, you would have done better. Yeah. But like, at the time, you did the best you could. And then you have the capability to create something new. And there may be a period of grieving for the life that you lost or something that you lost, but now it's okay. You are awesome and you can create something amazing. And the fact that you're imperfect is the greatest gift of all, because if you're the same as everybody else, well, look at everybody else. Are they happy with their lives? How many people love their life? How many people wake up and drive to a job that they're just super jazzed about doing? Right? Not many. And so why do you want to be like them? And it's then having the courage to then go off and find your thing, because it's so much easier to fit into the textbook version of something instead of having the courage to deviate from the path and start to launch your own thing.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is just keep going.
Let's go. So 2014, you were 9,400 subscribers after 5 full years.
Okay. So I'm 5 years in on doing this and I got 9,000 subscribers, right? Okay. Yeah. So for a lot of people, it's like, man, I suck. You know, like it's not working. This is not good. I need to quit. I had a lot of things working against me that I'd be able to do a lot faster now. I'm still am, introverted, shy, was afraid to ask for help. Never thought I would be good on camera, like all of these things. Nobody cares about my message. Nobody would want to see me. I couldn't watch my first 350 videos back without being completely embarrassed of myself. So I never watched it back. The only thing I had going for me, Sean, was I just kept going. I didn't watch my videos. I never asked for help, but I just kept going. And my focus, I never thought I was going to be big. Like when I started, nobody had 1 million subscribers. YouTube famous wasn't a thing. And I'm making educational content. Like nobody was making educational content. So it's not like I knew it was going to work out. That I didn't know it at all. I just focused on who I was serving. That if 50 people watched my video, that's 50 people that watched my video. Like if I was to go to a library or something to give a speech and 50 people showed up, I would be nervous that 50 people were there to watch me speak. Oh my God. But because it's online now, we think that, oh, those people don't count. So I always just focus on who I was serving instead of who I wasn't serving. Because the who I'm not serving game never ends, right? It's like, well, why aren't you at 100,000 subscribers, Sean? Or why aren't you at 1 million subscribers or 10 million subscribers or 100 million? You know, like the who you're not game never ends. And as entrepreneurs, we're wired for growth anyway. You know, like you're aggressive. You're going to get there. You don't need help in that side of things. It's more like, hey, it's not happening fast enough. So I always focus on who I was serving instead of who I wasn't.
Something you say that I love is that you can't out Evan. I want to know what you mean by that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we have role models, we have mentors, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've learned a lot from the people in my life and people I've profiled on my channel. But it's easy to turn into imposter syndrome to feel like, well, I'm never going to be as good as whoever. Like you're here starting this podcast, and you might look at Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss or whoever you think is the best podcaster or interviewer out there. But the goal is never to be Joe Rogan. The goal is to be the best Samuel possible. And that is an evolution. And even at the beginning, if you start asking Joe Rogan questions, that's fine as a you're tasting and testing and getting started. But we're always so worried about chasing our competition, where really the goal should be to be the best us. And so nobody can out Evan. Nobody can out Samuel. And so when people will often share videos with me to say, oh, look, this person copied your style. This person is doing exactly what you're doing. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like, you're not going to out me. So if you're just going to be a Elvis impersonator, great. Like keep doing you. But ultimately, everybody needs to find their own path. So I think so many times we're worried about the rearview mirror and what's happening behind us, as opposed to forging our own path to say, okay, how am I going to be unique? What do I love doing that other people don't? And going all in on that thing.
I think one of the biggest mistakes I made early on when I had any money was I just tried to invest it and put it into the stock market. And I remember like I had $2,000. Like, okay, I'm going to put it in the stock market and it's going to grow. I was like, oh, it's like taking so long to grow. It's only $2,000. Where Jeremy actually made a much smarter call. Like I think at the beginning, you invest in your skills and you invest in your network, because that $2,500 investment that Jeremy made now has a mid six-figure or high six-figure business every year because he came to that event. But if you just put it into the stock market, sure, it would grow. Yeah. But I think at the beginning, you need to invest in yourself to get the skills that you need to be able to then create the network and create value for other people. Yeah. And when entrepreneurs, any entrepreneur here watching, you're thinking about starting your business, the easiest way to start making money is to provide a high value business or service to people who have money to pay you. And so getting into YouTube consulting is great because there's not a ton of people into it, right? It hasn't been around for 40 years. If you're gonna get into tax accounting, that's a great business to be into, but you have to have years of experience to know what you're doing, right? I did an interview with Tom on his channel. Like, that guy's an expert. Yeah. He's a genius. So if you're gonna go and compete with Tom, it's gonna take you so many years to even catch up to a base level of knowledge. But in YouTube consulting, it's easier because there is nobody really who's been doing this for 40 years, right? Or you're a ChatGPT consultant and you're helping use AI for people in the corporate. Who is the expert on that? Like there's nobody because it's still so brand new. So this is the area where it's super high value for clients, but there aren't a lot of experts at it. So for you to spend 6 months becoming great at it, you could be now in the top 1% of all people who know how to use that thing and then start charging for your services on top of it.
I'm writing a new book about finding your purpose and turn into a business. And then I included the last chapter on how to make money. Because I think a lot of people feel icky or nasty about trying to, well, I just love helping these people, so I can't charge for this. I think it actually is selfish not to charge for it. I think it becomes your obligation that you have to charge for it. Not to everybody. I think there'll always be a percentage. If it's 10% or 20% of people who get in for free because they can't afford it. But if you don't learn how to make money from your purpose, then it will always be a hobby, and you'll always have to do a full-time job to then support your hobby. Where if you actually made it a business and learned how to make money doing it, serving people in an ethical, life-changing, positive way, then you can reach more people. You can build a team. You can scale up. Now, instead of as a hobby, you can hit 10 women a month.
Wow.
Hobby. But if you have a business and now you're building a team of amazing women who all want the same thing, maybe now you're reaching millions of women.
Wow.
So I think it's your responsibility to turn that into something that then can create a ripple effect greater than just a hobby on the side.
Failure is a really interesting topic, and it's something that we see as a bad thing for some reason. Where failure is really feedback. Failure is a learning experience. Failure is only really fail if you don't take anything and learn from it. And again, you don't have to jump in and go all in and be the risky entrepreneur. I think everybody fails in their path to success. Everybody fails, not just entrepreneurs. Anybody anytime you're trying to learn something, you will fail at the start. You will suck at the start, right? You want to learn French? You're going to fail along the way to learning French, right? You want to get up on a snowboard? You're not going to ace it the first time down. You're going to fall, and eventually you make it up, right? And so the notion that you would start a business or start any project and have instant success is crazy. And people try something out for the first time when they're not successful at it, and a lot of them will then say, yeah, I'm not an entrepreneur, oh, that's not for me, I can't do this, and they go back to their life that they hate, where that's just a learning experience, right? Just the key, I think, is to make small failures, like fail small. Don't go crazy and bet the house and your mortgage and put your entire family at risk. Right. Exactly, that's where it gets dangerous. But in terms of teaching small failures, I think we kind of already do through our upbringing and our school system and a lot of the things that we do. But I think just showcasing that failure is not this really negative thing that we want to run away from, because if you have no failures, it means you're playing life so safe that you've never taken any risk at anything, any shot at anything, right? You have a dream to accomplish something, you're going to fail a lot to get there. And I just see failure as feedback, not as something that is a negative thing.
Evan, you have a brand new book called Momentum. I love the word momentum. I think it's the hardest thing to get and the easiest thing to lose. Why the book Momentum, and why now, brother?
I actually wasn't planning on writing the book at all. Built to Serve was my book. I was like, it's still the book. And then I did a session with my now business partner, Kira, and we did an IG Live together, and she kind of pulled it out of me. And this idea just came out, like momentum. That's the book. I often tell people the only thing they're missing is momentum. Like you have the heart, and you have the idea, and you have the willingness to serve, and like you're doing it for the right reasons, and you deserve to make money. What's missing? Just momentum. Like you're overthinking, you're over planning, you're just over, and you're not doing enough. Like momentum. And so she challenged me to write the book in 8 weeks. My first book took me a year to write. And then she said, well, when are you going to start? And the book's called Momentum, right? It's like, of course I have to start now. Like, I'm going to start next week. I'm going to start in a month. Like, no, I have to eat my own dog food. And so I wrote it like, I got off the call with her at 3 p.m. Eastern and just started writing. And I wrote it in 5 days. It's like, this book was written in 5 days, and we ended up having it published in 8 weeks. And so when you're to Dave's point of like, when you're in the right frequency and around the right people and hitting the right vibration, like you can create magic. And if you're not, it's because you're in the wrong frequency, you're around the wrong people, and you have the wrong thinking in your head too.
I think everybody can lean in and learn whatever they want to learn. I had the good fortune of having some great parents. They're on their wall behind me here. I'm 8 or 9 years old, and those are my parents there. And they would always tell me, hey, you're Evan Shirley Carmichael, like you do anything you believe that you can. And so they helped instill that in me. I think the whole, to Gary Vee's point about, are you born with it? Well, what were you doing at 7 years old? Like, were you doing lemonade stands and garage sales and taking some initiative? But if you weren't, don't feel like, oh my gosh, now I can't be an entrepreneur. It's so much easier now than ever to start your own business or to lean in on the thing for sure. Like, I believe everybody's got Michael Jordan level genius at something. Like, you're the greatest in the world at something. And you just don't believe that you are, and you don't believe in your dreams enough to go chase them down. But you can, whether it's being an entrepreneur, and believing in your business, whether it's believing in your health journey and that it's possible, whether it's, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro or losing 100 pounds or like whatever the thing is that you'd love to do, it's possible. People like you have done it. And that's where a lot of people get stuck is like, well, it's possible. Like somebody else has done it, but I can't do it because I'm whatever. And my story early with the YouTube stuff was, I'm an introvert. I'm shy. So I'm not going to make it, but I'll keep making content because I'm serving, but I'm just never going to be the big name because I'm too introverted and too shy. And I still am, by the way. It just doesn't come out when I'm doing shows like this. But you can. You can. Whatever that story is in your head, it's totally fixable. And other people, like you, have done it. And it just comes down to starting to change what you put into your head. I think that's the biggest thing of all. That's why I make so much content. Because if somebody felt like their health journey was impossible, it's like, Jay, you don't understand. It was impossible. It's like, Jay, you don't understand. I've been like this and my family has been like this and it's just not possible. And I've tried a million things and just nothing works and it's never going to happen, Jay. That's who I am, right? If they spent a month with you, because you're more confident in their ability to get healthy than they are in their inability to get healthy. And same thing with me. If somebody's hanging out with me for an extended period of time, if we were hanging out together, I'm going to get a lot healthier, probably. And you're going to be making more YouTube videos, man. And we're going to get you on there and crushing it because whoever's more confident wins. And so the problem is we're surrounded by people who don't believe in our dreams, who tell us that it's not possible. And we're also feeding our mind with things that keep us stuck where we are. And if you want to change something, it's totally possible, but it starts with actually changing that environment so that you have the crutch, like to get going, to get you out of the starting gate.
The ability to both recruit team and recruit clients based not just off the performance, but the story. So in your willingness to share what you've been through and the mission that you're on, I think it actually attracts the right people to you, both clients and team, which then that can parlay into something much bigger. If you look at, Ed Milet came from the financial world. Patrick B-David came from the financial world, now doing things outside the financial world in a big way.
Follow them daily. Yeah.
That's their background and still, kind of heavy ties to the business, but they don't talk much about it. You don't hear Ed and Patrick talking about that business too much. A little bit, but if you were to see their show, you wouldn't think, oh, this is the insurance guy.
Yeah,
right? But it becomes a vehicle to get to the next step. If you took the same courage that you talk about Ali and Sanders in and bring that to your business and your content and your messaging and like up front, it's not just that you're a winner and you can help them get the deal. It's also the story behind it. Why would I pick you over somebody else? You have the track record, but other people have the track record. Is your track record that much better than somebody else's? Maybe compared to a startup for sure, but there's other people who have more experience than you do, but they don't have your story. And in that combination is where you start to bring on the right people.
How do you come up with your video ideas to keep your community engaged?
That's a combination of what do I want to make with what are people asking for. And I think that's at the success of any successful business, not just a YouTube channel, not just a podcast or a show. It's like, what do you love doing with where is their demand? If you take something that you just love doing, but nobody cares, you have a hobby. Great. It could be a really fulfilling hobby, but it's just a hobby. And if you take something that everybody wants, but you don't really care about, you're never going to win because you're doing work that you hate. And there's somebody else out there who loves doing that thing. And so don't spend your time doing work that you hate. So it's in that combination of like, what do I love doing with what do people actually want that every business can become successful. So for me, we get a lot of feedback from the audience. People leave comments like, hey, I'd love to see a video on blank. And maybe I know how to do that. And maybe I really resonate with that. Or maybe I don't. And then we don't. Or it just starts with me saying, I think this could be a cool idea. And then I try to make that video and put it out there. And sometimes they take off and they do well and we do a lot more. And sometimes it completely flops. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, nobody liked that. Move on to the next idea. I think the key though, within all of that is we're not so attached to this thing having to work. A lot of times people, when they're first launching their YouTube channel, their business, their podcast, whatever, we put so much pressure on the launch being perfect. And then if it doesn't work out, we feel like a failure. Where for me, it's just, okay, we're going to try that, and we're going to try this, and we're going to try that, and something's going to work. And if that thing yesterday didn't work, cool. I've got 18 more ideas I'm going to try until I find the thing that does work.
What do you think is the best part about being an entrepreneur, and what's the scariest part, if you had to kind of warn would-be entrepreneurs out there?
I think the reason you get into entrepreneurship has to be strong that you're moving towards something, not away from something. Hating your job is not a good enough reason. Having a bad boss is not a good enough reason. Having toxic people around you in your workplace means you should get out of that, but that's not the reason to go be an entrepreneur, because you're going to work harder as an entrepreneur than you will
yes
a job.
Right.
Now you get to set the rules and you get to decide what you want to do, but if you're only in it because of freedom, that's the wrong reason. You have to be in it because you want to make an impact. You have to want to serve. I believe that humans are built to serve. I think it's in all of us. I think it's hardwired into us. And that, how do you serve? Well, your purpose comes from your pain. That the thing that you struggled with the most in life, whatever the most painful moment of your life was, helping other people not go through the same thing that you went through will be the thing that will fill you up for life and will never get old. And so that's the thing that people need to find. I love helping entrepreneurs because I struggled so much as an entrepreneur. So I want to now pay it forward and help others. And that's everybody. So you need to figure out what's the going to that you're creating, not the moving away from, and then how you're going to serve. And if you do that, you'll have success. I think most entrepreneurs, when they get started, they're doing it for the wrong reasons because they just don't like their job. And then they're just chasing an opportunity. They don't actually love the thing, but this is a hot thing to do in 2019, 2020, 2021. So that's what I'm going to do. But if you don't love that thing, you're going to lose. So that's the biggest mistake most entrepreneurs make.
Why is it necessary? That's one word for branding your business.
So I think it comes in two forms. I think it starts with you. I think it gives you the clear perspective on what your brand is all about. I think a lot of times when people are coming up with a brand, they don't, they're picking something because it looks nice or it sounds good, but it's not coming from a really deep place of meaning. And the brand needs to mean something first to you. Like, you need to be proud of everything that you're creating. And it has to have a heartbeat. Everything you make has to have a heartbeat. Whether that's creating content or creating a service, like you do coaching, you do consulting. You have to help people thrive in those sessions, or you're not going to be, happy about that. And so it gives you a frame of reference for yourself first, and then that flows through everything, flows into your entire business, how you operate your company. You want to bring on people to your team who believe in similar things as you do. If you're hiring a video editor, my video editor wanted to tattoo believe on her arm before she even met me. Because she believes in the same thing. And so you want to bring people on who have the skill set, but also believe the same thing that you believe. And if you don't know what you believe, then you'll attract anybody. But if you're really specific on what you believe, then it's easy to bring people in who are on the same mission. That's an internal brand. And most people look at the external, which we can get to, but that's the internal brand. You need the internal compass, because if the external is one thing and the internal is something else, you're not going to be happy. You're going to feel like a fake. You're going to feel like you're always having to live up to something that you're not. The external then is what people perceive it as. When people see your content, when people see your product or service, your branding, your Instagram and YouTube and all of that, what do they think? What do they feel? If it's too complicated, they won't be able to share it. People could love your stuff, but if they can't articulate it clearly to their friends and their colleagues, they're not going to share it. I think of corporations that have their 13 core values that nobody actually knows. Nobody shares it because it's too complicated. Like, if you need me to remember 5 things about you to share it, I'm not going to. It's just, even if I love you, I'd have to love you insanely a lot to remember those 5 things. But if it's one thing, and people know me for belief, they want more belief in their life, you should talk to Evan. You should go watch his YouTube channel. You should subscribe to him. You should check out what he's doing. It's just easy to remember because people have busy lives. It's not that they don't want to talk about you. You're just making it too complicated. You're introducing too much friction to them.
I think it's a really hard road to become an entrepreneur. How did you find your mentor? Because that's really hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, the trick is when you find somebody who you like, who you think they're ahead of you, and you think they might have something to contribute, you have to find a way to get closer to them. So I'll give you two stories. The first with me and Steve. I met Steve through one of his clients. So one of his clients was in Toronto, same city as me, and we met at a coffee shop, and he had this idea to pitch on a YouTube video. And he said that his agent came up with this idea. He's like, agent? Like, what do you mean agent?
Yeah.
How do you have an agent? You're like a business guy or like a YouTuber. How do you have an agent? Because I thought agents were only for sports stars or musicians. Like, how do you? It's like, yeah, I have an agent. He represents like thought leaders. Like, okay. Can I meet him? And so he introduced me to Steve. I hopped on the call. Steve made me feel very uncomfortable, in all the right ways.
Yeah.
And that led to me wanting to do more with him, even though I didn't fit the typical mold. So it's following the curiosity, right? If I met this guy in Toronto. His name was Sean, and if I never asked Sean about the agent, I wouldn't have had that conversation. Fast forward a couple years ago, there was a guy, Jeremy, who came to one of my events, and he's paid like $2,500 or something to come to this event. He's 18, 19 years old. He is working as a grocery store clerk. Like, hates his life, doesn't want to work grocery store, doesn't know what he really wants to do, likes my energy, saw my YouTube videos, come to the event. It's a 3-day event. At the end of the event, he messages me, he says, hey, Evan, I just want to, how do I spend more time with you? I don't have any skills yet, but I'll walk your dog, I'll clean your car, I'll mow your lawn. Like, I just want to spend more time with you. And I messaged him back, said, that's super amazing, Jeremy, but I don't need somebody to walk my dog or clean my car. But thank you. A couple months later, I was driving on my tour, and I'm driving through this desert in Texas, and I think of Jeremy, and I thought, maybe I could teach Jeremy YouTube. Like, I wonder, people keep asking me about YouTube, and they want me to do work on their channel, and I don't want to do that as a business, but maybe I could teach Jeremy how to do it. And so we got Jeremy on the phone that moment. He took a little break from his grocery store, job, and said, Jeremy, I want to teach you YouTube. We'll start a business together, and I'm away for the next 2 months on the road, so I need you to watch all of these videos and learn everything you can about YouTube. And when I come back, if you've done that, I'll help you build a YouTube consulting business.
Wow.
And we did. And now he's got a high 6-figure YouTube business, consulting. He made 6 figures in the first 6 months or so of having his business. And that's from being a grocery store clerk, right? But if he didn't do that outreach to me, I wouldn't have taken a shot on him either. It's just the heart and the energy and the care, and he's just, I'll wash your car and I'll clean, hang out with your dog. I just love the energy. And even though nothing came up in the moment, he was in the back of my mind to say, okay, maybe I should do something with Jeremy. And so it's trying to be in a room where you get to talk to them, but then it's almost uncomfortable, like, next ask, and showing your hunger and your commitment level. And then the key thing is, when you get that, is you ask one question to the mentor. Because successful people actually love mentoring, but they also hate wasting time. Like, time is the most valuable asset. And they love mentoring, but they hate wasting time. And a lot of mentees waste time because they don't do the work. So the best thing you can do, if you're trying to get into a mentorship relationship, you ask one question. Like, what's the one question? You've got to ask Robert Kiyosaki one question. Like, what's the one question that you want to ask him, right? And then don't ask another question, because that's what people will do. They'll come back and say, oh, what about this? And what about that? It's like, no. Like, do the work on the first question that he gave you an answer for. And then go home and actually do the work. And if you get a result, then you can come back and ask the second question. Hey, I asked you this. I did this. Now I've got 5 apartments, man. Thank you for your advice. Now I'm struggling with this. He's much more likely to give you a second answer because of the work you did on the first one. Or if the advice didn't work, make sure that you tried it 100 times, right? It wasn't just you made one phone call and it didn't work, and so the advice sucked, right? Because if you tried it 100 times and you showed the effort, then he's willing to answer a second question.
How you can model success. This is what saved my business when I wanted to quit at my company, my first software company. And then I realized that, you know what, I'm not the first guy to try to sell software before. Like, somebody has figured this out. If I just learn from that person, I can apply those strategies to my business. And so I modeled Bill Gates, who started Microsoft. And I've never met Bill Gates, but he saved my company. And I looked at the strategies of how did he start Microsoft? Not how does Microsoft grow now? Who cares? It's a huge company. But like start. How did he start? 0 to 1. That's what I wanted to do. And I modeled him and I applied that to my business and we started to grow. And so whatever dreams, whatever goals, whatever business you have, somebody's already figured it out. It may not be exactly what you want to do. And that's good because you're different. You're an entrepreneur. You can put your own twist on it. But people have already figured it out. And so understanding what they did and trying to break down their success could be really helpful so that if you're hustling and grinding, you're spending your time on the right things that will help you as opposed to the things that aren't leading to success.
Mm-hmm. So when you say model after them, you mean like you don't necessarily have to meet this person. You can just read their books or watch their interviews. Is that how you learned from Bill Gates, for example?
Yeah, so there's two kinds of mentors. There's the regular mentors that people think about where you go for coffee and they're local. You can go meet them and they break down your business. And I never had that, right? Like my parents taught me so much about life and being a human being, but never about business. And nobody in my family was an entrepreneur. And so I had nobody to go and have coffee with. I went to my banker and said, hey, can you help me with my business? And he's like, well, do you need a loan? Like, no, I don't know. Do I need a loan? I don't know. He's like, yeah, you're not really in the right place. Like I didn't know anybody. And so I looked to what I call aspirational mentors. These are people who you aspire to be like or aspire to learn from. And some people may have already passed on and you'll never meet them. Like I have Steve Jobs up on my wall. I'm never going to meet him, obviously. And a lot of people behind me, some I may meet one day or some have passed on. And so I look at two kinds of what I call aspirational mentors. The first are in your industry. Whatever you want to do, somebody has done it. You want to be a successful YouTuber? There's lots of people who've done it. Go and model them, see what they did. The more successful they are, the more information there is on them, whether it's interviews or books or magazine articles, like their story is somewhere. And again, look to how they got started as opposed to what they're doing now, because it's a different scale. And then the second kind are just the people who you look up to. You know, if I love Oprah Winfrey, I can learn something from her, even if I don't want to have my own talk show. You know, if you love Michael Jordan, you could learn from him, even if you never want to be a basketball player, like the way that he works and his hustle and effort, and he's in the gym. You can apply that to your life and to your business, even if you never go on to try to become an NBA player. So those two things, the people who have done what you want to do, and maybe you hate them, but you can still learn from their success, right? And just do it your way. And then the people who you just really look up to and really admire and say, one day I want to have that kind of impact. Again, understanding how they got started and modeling their success to help you get your breakthrough.
Whatever problem you're facing right now, somebody's already solved it. And a great way is actually to look through books and find out, you know, whatever problem in history that you're facing right now has already been solved. History repeats itself over and over and over again. It started when I was 19, had my first software company, and I was struggling and failing and making $300 a month and not being able to survive. And I hit my bottom, and then I eventually realized that I'm not the first guy to try to sell software before. Like, this has been figured out. I just need to find someone who's done it and model their success. And I looked at Microsoft and Bill Gates and how he started Microsoft. Not how Bill Gates makes an extra $1 million now. It's not relevant. But 0 to 1. How did they do that? That's what I want to do. And I did it through partnerships. And so I started following what he did to be successful in his early days, and I started landing deals. And I got my first check was $13,500, and that, to me, was amazing. That may not seem like a lot of money, but when you're making $300 a month, $13,500 is a lot of money. But more importantly, it gave me a model to then replicate over and over and over and over and over again. And so now my default is whatever challenge that I'm facing right now, look at who's already accomplished it and how can we model their success.
What system or process do you have or use for your filming and editing? Is there a particular methodology?
I think that's evolved over the years. At the beginning, I probably spent way too much time trying to figure all the stuff out. You know, my first video took me a full day to record because I was it was one video. It's like 6 minutes. It took a whole day to record because I was trying to get it perfect, and the camera and the lighting, and my friend came in who's a professional videographer, and he filmed me, and I had to memorize my script. And over the years, it's gotten a lot more streamlined and faster, and I've cared less about it being perfect and more about me just showing up and trying to connect more to the heart and less to the head. if we had done this interview even 3 years ago, I would have said, okay, I need to know what are Alan's questions going to be. I want to know what his questions are because I wanted to have an answer, because I would be afraid of, I don't want to disappoint your audience. I don't want you to ask me some question. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. But what would end up happening is I give a really prepared, rehearsed answer, which then doesn't actually bring the most value to your community. And so instead, it's like, I don't want to know the questions. I don't want to know, what you're going to ask me. Let's just go with it and hope that I have enough inside me to be able to share. And so I wish I had done that sooner. If you look back, I probably wouldn't have made changes, but like if I could talk to Evan, who's starting this channel at the beginning, it's like, don't be so stressed out about saying the perfect words and having the perfect lighting and gear and editing process. Just go, make, create. And the more you can connect in your heart instead of your head and what you think is perfect, the better results you'll actually have.
What are some steps that you think people should take or can take to get that momentum, to add more of that to their life?
I think it starts with identifying where do you lack, right? Like, what do you want to get better at? So for you, it's like, hey, I want to be a better entrepreneur. I don't have business people in my life, so I'm going to make an effort to be around people who are more successful at that thing. So if you have a health goal or relationship goal, business goal, it's not that you have to hang around Elon Musk to get it, right? I mean, there's lots of people who've done it. If it's a relationship goal, who are the happiest couples that you know, and try to spend more time with them? Or health goal, who are the people who are running, or just working out on their own, and how do you spend more time with them? When you're in that circle, you'll just do a lot more. So what is the thing that you are lacking? And then I would split that between moments like an event or a conference or hanging out with somebody, and then what can you do consistently on the daily, right? So what ends up happening is you get really motivated, you go to a conference, you meet some people, you learn, and it takes you to another level, but then it's easy to fall back down to, where you were. It's like, oh, I thought I could write a book. Like, I can't write a book. I'm not going to start a show. I can't, where did I think I could do that from? Because you've been taken out of the environment and put back into your current environment, so it's harder to get going again. Not impossible, just harder. But I love those moments because it shows what's possible. And I'm a big believer that the ideas that come to you when you're feeling bold, powerful, confident, courageous are actually the right ones for you. Like, those are your best ideas. And then your head talks you down from doing them because it only understands the world that currently exists. Like, well, you didn't go to school for this. What? You're going to be an entrepreneur. You can't be an entrepreneur, right? Like, the head starts to take over. So those ideas that came to you when you're at that conference or around these people, like, those are actually the right ones for you. And you need to then inject new things daily to remind yourself of the person you want to be. So that's why I have things like my YouTube channel, right? Because I need it daily. Because I want to be around, Oprah Winfrey and Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and Bill Gates and these people every day, that when I'm watching their video, it makes me want to go and do more. So I start out the book around mediocrity, and it gets pretty angry, I think, and pretty aggressive. I want to start the book off strong. I think, ultimately, I think everybody has the ability to be great. I think everybody has Michael Jordan level talent, or like whoever your favorite entrepreneur or person, or like somebody who you think is just amazing at what they do. I think everybody has that. I think everybody has that ability. You might not be able to play basketball better than Michael Jordan, but you can be Michael Jordan of something.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Michael Jordan is special, but he's not that special at the same time. Like, everything I've done on YouTube is special, but I'm just like everybody else. I'm not that special. Like, you could do what I'm doing. You could do it better than what I'm doing in your own thing. Don't come after me and do believe in top 10s. I'll crush you on that. But like, you could do your own thing, right? Like, people watching, you could do your own thing. And so most people settle for just a mediocre life. It's just okay. You're just paying your bills. You may not hate your life totally, but it's just okay. And I want to shake people out of that. I want you to feel like, you have an ability to be a genius. Like, you already are a genius. And we got to untap that. And the best way that I know how at the start is through self-awareness. And so I think it begins with core values. It begins with your one word. But even if you think the whole thing doesn't make sense, like, just understanding that you could be the Michael Jordan of something, and you should be allergic to mediocrity, that it's not acceptable for you to not live the life that you want to go off and live.
What is the importance of video influencers watching, maybe thinking about focusing their branding and their messaging?
Yeah, I think if you're a human being, you have a core value. There's something inside of you that is the most important value in the world, something that you place higher than money. And when you figure out what that is, and then you bring that, not just to your business, but to your life, the people you hang out with, but in the context of creating a YouTube channel, the content, like how do you stand out? If you are another family vlogger, another gamer, another entrepreneur, and there's tons of competition, how do you do it? It's based off of what is the single most important core value that you want people to feel. Because I want people to feel an emotion when they watch my videos, when they watch these interviews. I want you to feel an emotion and not just get content.
Got it. So your one word is believe, right?
It is.
What's the story behind that? How'd you come up with that?
It came from my parents. They always taught me that I was Evan Castrilli Carmichael and I could do anything that I wanted. And it's a message I still pass on to my son. And they just made me feel like whatever I wanted to do, it was possible, and to believe in myself to do it. And it's come through my entire life. My favorite movie is Seabiscuit. It's about this horse that is too small and a jockey that's too big and a owner that had no money, and they come together. It's this underdog story. And so anything around believe, just I feel better about. Now translate that to a YouTube world. When I had my channel, I still have my channel, but like my first video that took off, that did well, was this video took me a year to get to 100,000 views on it. And I was so happy, 100,000 views. For a lot of you watching, it may be more than what you have right now. I was so pumped. I made a video around believe, which was my one word, and we hit 100,000 views in a month. And that video now has over 2 million views. And now believe oozes out of everything that I create. So I'm trying to give you the content that you can use to grow your business, but I want you to feel out of every piece of content that you can go off and do whatever your main big goal is. I want you to feel believe out of everything that I create. The more that you can make choices that build self-respect and build character, the more you're capable of making more choices like that. People think of it as some giant thing, like whatever your goals are. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, so that they want to start their business, but whatever your goals are, your personal, your health goals, your fitness, your relationship, your business goals, whatever they are, it's not just some one thing, one giant goal that you chase. It's the daily minor decisions that you have to make. It's every day you have this choice to, am I going to do the thing I said I was going to do? Or am I going to not do it? You know, like, am I going to let myself down again here? Or am I going to do the thing that makes me proud? And it's in these minor decisions that we have every day that ultimately leads to you building your character. So when you started your show, it's great, amazing. A lot of people would love to start a show like you did. A lot of people would love to have guests on their show as well. And they immediately have that insecurity in their head come to say, well, who's going to listen to me? And what am I going to talk about? And which guest is going to want to come on my show when they've been on other shows? How am I better? How am I different? In my show, when they've been on other shows, how am I better? How am I different? And what that does is shut down your action to go and create the show. And the more you listen to that voice, the less action you do, and the more you teach yourself that you suck. Do it. You're training yourself to not do it again the next time and not doing it, because this becomes your identity. Like, I'm the person who has great ideas but never follows through. And that is something that we have to start to consciously destroy on the health journey. Well, I'm just a fat person and I can't stick to a diet and I can't do anything. I can't run more than a mile. I can't, and we've created this identity, but all of those things are fixable, but it's not one giant leap. Right? You don't just get healthy by going to the gym one day. It's the everyday consistency that you train yourself for. As I went through writing the book, I actually did not have the negative side at all. The think of what you hate. Because it's not how I'm wired. I never really think negative. I'm always super on the optimistic side. But as I started helping out entrepreneurs, a lot of them had a hard time going positive and finding what their one word was. They were constantly struggling. And so I just suggested, hey, okay, forget about the things that make you happy. What do you hate? Like, who do you hate? Which teacher did you hate growing up? Which friend or colleague or someone at work or classmate did you just absolutely hate? Not that they're wrong or they're a bad person. There's just something about them that you don't like. And some people find it easier to do that and think of this is what I hate struggle. I hate struggle so much, right? And then that's your anti-word, and just go the opposite and you find thrive. And so that was because of the coaching I did, helping different entrepreneurs one-on-one and finding their one word. That was a nice little addition to the book in one of the exercises. So that if you have a hard time finding it going positive, it may even be easier to go negative to figure it out.
I'm a big believer that the ideas that come to you when you're feeling bold, excited, powerful, inspired, like those are the right ones for you. And then we spend most of our time talking ourselves down from like why we can't do those things. So if you're watching a Craig video or a Dave video, you're hanging out and you get inspired, like that idea, that's your best version talking to you. And you owe it to you to go do something and take the first step. Like you get inspired to go start your own IG live or your own YouTube channel. Awesome. Like just make a video. People get caught up in like, well, what camera and what microphone and what am I going to talk about? And then it's like, it's over. It's over. Like just press record and make your first video. That's the first step. And that's like people take a decade to get to the first step. That's the problem. So the ideas that come to you when you're feeling bold, those are the right ones for you.
Perfectionism is really just fear. You're just afraid.
Right.
So of course I'm still afraid of many things, but if I can catch it, I try not to be or do the thing that makes me scared. But to the kill your darlings, one of my greatest fears earlier on in my career was being an aging rock star. And so one of the things that for some reason really bothered me was you look at these rock stars who were big in like the 70s or 80s or 90s or whatever, and they still go on tour. And like, wow, they're still on tour. Like, it's amazing that they're still on tour. But they're still singing the songs they were singing like decades ago.
Yes.
Like, where is the new stuff? Like, have you had nothing new to say in 30 years since you recorded the thing?
Right.
Anytime you're judgmental of somebody else, it's self-reflection. It's like it's you're worried about yourself, not about like Aerosmith or whatever. It doesn't care about me or my opinion. And I don't really hate on Aerosmith. So it's like if you are criticizing somebody else, it's like, well, look inside because you have that same thing that you're criticizing. And I realized it was my fear that I don't want to be that. Like I don't want to be Evan, 30 years later, still making videos, yay, but like telling the war stories of back in 2023 when, I was on with Sean talking about Tom Brady. I want to make new stuff, right? I want to make new stuff. And I think I've overcome that one. I only bring up the past when people ask me questions about the past. But that was a big thing. That was a big fear of mine early on getting started. It's like I didn't want to just hold on to my darlings and sing the same songs over and over and over again.
What is the entrepreneurial mindset? How do they think?
Wow, I think it roots from a dissatisfaction with the world around us. Entrepreneurs are the crazy ones who see a better future, are upset about something, and then we want to make a change. Or I think anybody can pick out something that they don't like in their world, but the entrepreneurs are the solution providers. They're the ones who want to find a way to solve it and to make the world a better place somehow. And I think most of our global problems could be solved by entrepreneurs if they're given the opportunity. A feeling that I have the power to be able to make a change. Where I think a lot of people who might be inside a corporation or an organization, they see a problem with how their organization is run. Or if you work at a library, you see tons of problems with the library, but then you feel, oh, I can't do this because I don't have the power, or it's not my position, it's not my job title. Where the entrepreneurial mindset is, I'm going to find a way to make a difference. I'm going to find a way to make a change. If I don't like something at this library, I'm going to step up and do something, even though it's not my position. And so I think adopting that mindset and just that ability to feel like I'm empowering myself. I don't need permission from somebody else to say what I can and cannot do. I'm going to do something to try to make a positive impact. And one, for the individuals in the organization to feel like they can go and take that leap. And then two, for the leaders of those organizations to empower their team to take risks and do something different and not say you can only do what's inside this box. Where do we learn to manage people? You don't learn that in school, right? We don't learn how to manage people. We're taught usually the opposite in school, which Robert loves talking about. It's like, it's cheating. It's cheating to look at somebody else's test or work together, right? You got to do it all by yourself. But like that's the opposite in business. You have to do it as a team. So where do we learn the ability to manage and delegate? We don't, right? I think a lot of people, even if you think about school projects, we're usually the ones like hard carrying the school projects.
Or we're taught to be like the smartest person in the room, right? Like you always want to compete against the person next to you. Or Robert teaches us like, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want your team to be the smartest people in the room.
It's completely counter to what we learn in the school system. So great. You know, if you've never led somebody before, you're probably not going to be a great boss. It doesn't mean you're going to be a terrible boss, you're going to chew them out and they're going to hate you, but you need to learn how to actually manage people. And so it's easier to manage somebody for an hour a day, part-time, while you're still running your company, than to have a full-time person who you're now committed to. It's very rare that the first employee at any company is still there. Look at employee number 1 and 10 years later, like that person's gone. Not because the person sucked, it's because you sucked as a leader. Yeah, like you don't know how to hire, you don't know how to delegate, you don't know how to manage, you don't know how to train. We think that we get somebody in and then, oh, this person's just gonna take off all my problems. No. You gotta train them, you gotta mentor them, you gotta help. And so it's easier to get started. Like that's a skill that will serve you for the rest of your life, no matter what you end up doing.
What advice would you give to this person to kind of, I don't know if it's like to shake things up in their world or just to give them momentum?
Wow. So there's a lot there. I would want to know more about the individual, but some generic advice. One, I would expect to suck at the start. I would expect a struggle at the start. I think people expect to be amazing at the start, and then they're shocked by how hard it is when they actually get out and go. This is certainly my case. I expected to be doing way better than I was at the beginning. And I was actually too embarrassed to tell my friends and too ashamed that like I was making no money and I couldn't come out to dinner or birthday parties, not because I was too busy, but because that $20 was too much for me to go out for a night. So expect to suck at the start. I think remembering your why, remembering what you're doing, remember the big ambition that you have. I think if you started a business just to try to make money, you will fail because it's going to get hard, and it's a deep passion for what you do that helps you through those tough times, that you would keep doing it even if you weren't making any money because you just love it so much. It's a part of you. What this is a part of you. You have to keep doing it. If you stop it, a piece of you dies. You know, like that's what you need to find. And so making money is important too, but it's never number one. There's got to be something more important. If you only did it to make money, you're going to fail.
To improve your productivity skills, watch the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there. What if there's a strategy that could change the game for you? In this video, we're going to explore a revolutionary approach to productivity. It's not just about working hard, it's about working smart. We delve into the concepts of working in cycles,